each one of you. Good to see you here this morning, each and every one of you. We've got a good crowd here today, we've got a lot of visitors because of the nature of this Sunday morning and what we are doing. And we're glad to have each and every one of you here. You're here with a family member, somebody that we are honoring, and we thank you for coming. And I know they are glad to have you also. We have a number, we'll be saying a lot more about that a little later, but anyway, we're glad all of you are here. And I'm glad to be here this morning. And as you know, I've been gone 4 weeks. This is my first Sunday back since taking a sabbatical. And so I have enjoyed it. Thank you, church, for allowing me to do that and giving me that time. And I really had a good time and spent some time with my family in North Alabama. And just been a blessing to do that. And I praise the Lord for you for allowing me that experience. It's been a good experience. And thank you. And I'm glad to be back with you. Good to be back. Good to see each one of you here this morning. Just a few announcements Stephen mentioned this morning. We'll have a word of prayer. But the youth, they need their deposit in, a $25 payment, that's due today. Am I correct here on that? Okay. That's for the MQ. So if you got a youth that's going to that, you need to get with Drew and see him about it and get that deposit in for that, okay? And then, of course, this morning we're having our 90s celebration. It's going to be a special time. And then following that this morning, we're going to have a church-wide covered dish luncheon following the morning service. And somebody's been teasing me about it already that I came back just to eat. Anyway, that's a good reason to come back because the food's always delicious, all right? So all of you are welcome to stay for that. We'd like to see each and every one of you stay. If you're a visitor especially, we'd love to have you stay for that time of fellowship. Following the morning service, we'll be in the fellowship hall next door. And then tonight at 6 o'clock, we're having this Sunday sing. And so get your favorite song down and get ready to sing tonight. We're going to have a great time on the phone tonight. Okay? And then Friday of this week, Old Neighbors Game Night at 5 o'clock. And there's also a fifth quarter following the ball game for youth. Okay? And that's Friday. Then next Saturday, the 4th of November, the children have a pumpkin painting, hot dogs, and hayride. And that'll be at Harrington's Farm. It's 10 o'clock in the morning next Sunday. So it's all fun. It'll be a great time for our kids and some adults too. They'll have a good time with that. But you don't want to be there for that. Okay? And then a week from today, make note about the baby child dedication. We're going to be having a dedication service next Sunday morning. So if you have a little one that has not been dedicated to the Lord and you'd like to do that, let us know. We need to know, and we need to get in touch with the church office first part of the week if you can at all. I think we know most of those that are going to be dedicated, but if we miss someone, then let us know on that. All right? Okay, that's all the announcements I have. Let's have a word of prayer, and we'll get started this morning. Lord, this morning we bow before you and we praise you and we bless you. And Lord, I thank you for the church family. I pray a very special blessing on each one of them. And Lord, I also thank you for our visitors, Lord. It's so good to have this number of visitors. And Lord, I pray you bless them and just minister to them today. And I know many of them have come to be with a loved one. And God, I thank you for that. And also, Lord, I just pray you bless them for coming. Thank you for them. Thank you for this day, the time that we can honor those that are 90 plus. And Lord, we just give you the praise, honor, and glory for it also. Be magnified in this service today. We'll give you the praise for our Lord Jesus. Amen.
So fair. said, I want to see Jesus, the one who died for of that city, my loved ones all knew me well. They took me down the streets of heaven. Oh, seems too many to tell. I saw Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, talked with Mark and Timothy. Oh, but I said, Timothy, I want to see Jesus, 'cause he's the one who
The hymns that we're singing this morning are some of our 90s plus favorite hymns, and hymns that speak to your heart. And I thank God for the writers of these hymns. And this is going to be our outro hymn that we're singing. So, ushers, if y'all come down like on the old rugged cross on the chorus of it, we'll take up the money then. But we're going to be singing the first verse of Heavenly Sunlight. Then we're going to sing Amazing Grace, 1, 4, and 5. And then the first verse of the old rugged cross. Let us stand as we sing.
good this morning. All right. I want to share just a few words in regard to today. And I've been trying to think back and try to figure out who this idea was. Is this on? Yeah.
You were muted.
I'm muted by the words, part of the time and part of the time it doesn't. All right. But anyway, I've been trying to figure out where the idea started for us to honor those that are 90 years of age and older. I know my wife was talking to me about it, and she said, you know, we've got a lot of people in our church that are 90 years of age and older. And we began talking about it some. And then Cindy Simmons, our church secretary, she was talking to me some about it. And then somehow or another, I don't know how it got from one place to the other, but it got to the deacons. And Ronnie and Jerry and others began talking about it also. And that's kind of, I think that's kind of, maybe not in that order, okay, but it's kind of developed from that we ought to honor those that are over 90 years of age, because I've never been in a church that had this many. Now, I'm not pastoring a real large church either, but not been in one that had as many as we have for the size of the church. So we chose to do that. Now, what I want to say to you is this. When my mother passed away back in the spring, and she was 92, so I wish I could have got her here, and she could have been a part of this service also. But she went on to be with the Lord. But I believe this generation, and not just the 90s, but also a lot of them in the 80s, came through some difficult times. But those in the 90s especially came through some very, very hard times. I know my mother shared with me, she was born in 1925. And she remembered the Great Depression, especially on over when you got past the 30s, when she got a little older. She could remember the hardships of it and the difficulties. Of course, they lived on a farm and they could raise their own food. And so they did all right on food, but they just didn't have money much for anything else. And when they got clothes, it was a dress, it was usually made out of a flour sack, you know, with those flowers all over and that type of thing. And a lot of you young people have no idea what I'm talking about. But they were pretty, they were decorated in different colors, you know, and you could get those flour sacks, and then people would make skirts or dresses out of those in those days. And it was a very, very hard time for those people that grew up in that time. And it was a struggle. I mean, it was a big time struggle for them just to get their daily needs met, okay? They weren't worried about getting a new computer or a new TV. Okay? There wasn't any such thing then. And they weren't worried about how fancy they were going to dress and all those things. They were concerned about getting the next meal on the table and taking care of the very, very basic needs. And we have some of you that grew up in those times. And you remember how hard they were. And I think it produced in you some character, some strength, some inner strength that carried you. And then as we moved on in time, you began to experience what we know as World War II. The worst war that's ever been fought on planet Earth to this date. And that was a difficult time. Seeing loved ones go off to war, not knowing if they were going to come back, and some may not have. Some of your loved ones may not have come back alive. And the sacrifices you went through, doing without things for the war cause. Maybe even as a lady, maybe you served as a nurse or some way during the war. Or you men, you served in the war, in the life. And all those things help to develop you. And then as your faith in Christ grew and your love for the Lord, you became faithful followers of the Lord. And you served the Lord. And you honored Him by your service to Him, by your giving, by the way you cared for other people and loved other people, and by the way you encouraged people. And I thank you I thank you for what you have gone through, what you have been through, and yet it didn't destroy you, it made you, it developed you. Thank you for your service. Those that served in the war, thank you for your service to your country. And I thank God for you. And today, when you can, you're still here. You're still coming to church, giving to your church, supporting to your church. And sometimes, no doubt, it's probably a sacrifice to you in some form or the other to do that. And I just want you to know this morning, we appreciate you. Your church family appreciates you. We thank God for you. I'm not going to take, this is just a few minutes I wanted to take to say that to you. And I love all of those senior citizens, those over 90. I love those who are younger than that too, but let me say that. They may not let me eat after the service. But I love you all, and I thank God for you, and I appreciate you. And I pray God will bless you in many more years. And when that time comes, and He'll take you home to be with Him, and you'll find great rewards in heaven when you get there for all you've been through and all you've done. Thank you.
We have another hymn medley. My favorite hymns is Sweet Hour of Prayer. We're going to sing the first and third verse of it, and then the first verse of In the Garden, and then the first and the last verse of I Must Tell Jesus. Let us stand as we sing.
Thank
Proverbs 16:31. Gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained in the way of righteousness. If you have spent your years walking with God and learning from Him, then you have earned every gray hair in your head. They should be celebrated and worn like a crown as a testament that you are the living and breathing child of the King.
I was raised in a church.
Okay.
My folks carried me there, and when I was 12, it was 12, I think, it was 11 or 12, I joined a little Methodist church and had an encounter with the Lord.
It was after we got to Brewton, after we moved to Brewton. And it'd been on my mind for a long while, and then when they gave the invitation, Sally went down, and so I just followed her. I just went with her.
I don't know. I think my parents took me to church the whole time I was a little kid, and I loved Sunday school because they had all kinds of nice things for us to do. I didn't like too much sitting through church because in those days you had to sit through church. Now the kids can, they've done it. I think it's better.
Yes, ma'am.
We made it up to join the church that Sunday. All of us, about 5 girls. And that's what we did. And I said, now, that was just something we wanted to do. And my mother didn't like it because she said that I was too young,
Okay.
But she finally decided it was okay.
I went to a revival up at Bermuda. And I was going to the Methodist church at that time. We had Methodist and Baptist, and when we didn't have church at one of them, we'd have it at the other. So I went to both of them, and we had the Upward League and all that, So I was just praying for the Holy Ghost. And that night, well, I guess the Holy Ghost come upon me because I couldn't hardly wait to get up there to shake hands with the preacher and tell him, that what I wanted. There was about 5 of us. Of course, I was about 10 years old. And Mama questioned me, do I really know what I was doing? Well, she found out that I did know what I was doing because it did change me. And I wanted to serve the Lord, and I have been trying to serve Him ever since.
I was doing my own thing, and it wasn't nothing bad. I didn't do nothing bad. I mean, as far as doing something bad, I do as much now as then. I didn't do anything specifically to be bad. But I went to North Cleveland Baptist Church in Cleveland, Tennessee. I took 2 children to Sunday school and church, and I insisted that my husband had to go with his children whenever he wasn't working. Now, he worked shifts, so he couldn't be there all the time. But anyway, we just lived about a block and a half across from North Cleveland Baptist Church, that little bitty 2 houses down right in front of it. And I could walk. He had to have the car to go to work with, so if we could walk to church for anything that was going on, So I took my children and put them in Sunday school, went to church myself, learned all the ladies in the classroom, and sat right there and read the Bible and done everything they did. And you ain't never seen nobody any more shocked than my Sunday school class was when I walked the aisle. We thought you was a Christian. You know what I said? You never asked me. That's where we make a mistake. It taught me something. I don't know whether you're a Christian or not, are you? And you can say it in a nice way. But I sat there for about 7 or 8 months going to Sunday school with them. And they did not know I was not a Christian. And when I got the call, I run to the aisle, down the aisle to the altar. My husband was at work. Wasn't nobody there. Elizabeth and everyone there at the time, because we all went to the same church. I was right by myself. That's when I got the call.
we was going to that little missionary church down on Brewton Street.
Yes.
And of course they all done passed away now. But I don't even know, can't remember the names now. Kate, anyway. Oh no, they lived out this way. Yeah. Rhodes, Kate Rhodes, and can't even think the preacher's name now. We was running a revival, and I just felt like the Lord was calling me, you know. And so after church, we went in the room, and they talked to me, and I accepted the Lord.
Well, they was having a revival in Weaver. I was just a kid. So I was going up to joining the church. Best I can say, I went up and joined the church too, and was baptized in the creek.
I tell you, it was at May Creek Methodist Church when I was approximately 10 years old. Mm-hmm. Brother Smiley gave a sermon, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I still remember Brother Smiley. He was about approximately 10 years old, and he got up and he used his mother for the kind of the background of it, and Jesus Christ. Well, he'd talk about his mother, how he loved his mother, but he said this is just not verbatim what he said, you know, but he talked about how sweet and how he loved his mother, but he said there's one greater than that, and that's Jesus Christ. And it makes cold chills go over me now. But I was in tears, and there was more than just a few people in the church, and I joined the May Creek Church at that time.
Isaiah 46:4, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. In the younger years, when lots of life's biggest decisions are being made, it is easy to seek God's guidance and assistance. But it is important to remember that He cares about every area of your life. He would carry you when you are too young to know you need it, and when you are too old to walk on your own. His sustaining love is forever.
But I guess it was really, and I don't know how you'd say it, just getting along with strangers. My first job was in Washington, D.C. Wow. And I'm telling you, we're learning all those people that are up there. And I worked. I forgot who I told I worked. They asked, well, what was your job? And I said, I work for the civil service. I guess it'd be just don't make a judgment too quick.
Well, I remember the place where we lived, there's a hill back of it, and beside the road, the ditches, I like to get in there when it was raining and make a dam. And I like to take a toy truck and play with them. Had a little Boston Bull, pit bulldog, wasn't a pit Boston.
Terrier?
Just a Boston Bulldog, a short one. And we played and had a lot of fun. Had a pet rabbit that went out in the yard and walked around. People drive up. You know there's a rabbit in the yard?
I'll tell you the truth. We played everything. We made our own things to play with, and that was really good. And I think about today, most kids don't make their own things to play with. They don't, like the seesaws and flying jennies and time walkers. And we played ball right in front of the store where we lived. We had a country grocery store. We played ball right out in front, you know. And it was fun. We just had a lot of fun.
We went to Bermuda till I was in the high school, and then was transferred. See, I had to walk to school. I walked about 5 miles to school.
And that was when you were in Bermuda?
And whenever it'd be raining, Daddy would come up there in the wagon and pick us all up. And we had good times and bad times.
When I was a little girl, I had dogs and cats, and we had calves and chickens and rabbits. I had rabbits that let me dress them in my doll clothes. So I could say as a whole I've had a pretty darn good life. I had real good parents, and even though they were old when they had me, they were still really good parents.
Job 12:12. Is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long life bring understanding? Some life lessons come in an instant, and others must be learned from years of experience and growth. The older we grow, the more we learn about kindness, patience, heartbreak, love, and mercy. All of these experiences lead us to a deeper understanding of life's seasons and a greater wisdom of God's presence through them all.
Listen to each other. Don't let it get too old. Just keep on keeping on.
Well, you just treat each one with respect. And don't expect them to do everything.
Just let the Lord be the head of the household.
Well, just be true and love each other, you know. That's all I can say.
That it's a give and take situation, and don't let their emotions take over. Take it to the Lord in prayer. That would be what I would tell them, because there's problems in every home.
Right. First of all, you need your heart right with God, both of you. That's the very first thing. You know, the Bible tells us do not yoke yourself unevenly. Right. Well, me and you, neither one wasn't Christian. So we didn't unevenly do it. We was both just alike. And he lived with a preacher. His mom and daddy both were preachers. And so, but he had the basics training. I didn't have that so much. But I had when you're supposed to, if you ever get married or when you get married, and you're supposed to not have none of this stuff before marriage. You're supposed to be, both of you, virgins before you marry. You're supposed to. Right. That's the Bible. And so it was in my makeup, you know. And Junior, he went to church ever since he was born, you know. So you know it was in here. And I think the best thing, first of all, you got to have the right foundation. I really think that's it. But I do know this, too. Because we're sinners, God don't take his hand off of us. He still works on you. You don't just come to him. He draws you to him. And if you was like me and Junior we was opposites completely. They say opposites attract. I guess that's true. Because he was completely opposite of me. I was bubbly up, you know, and whatever come up, come out, you know. I didn't cuss and all that kind of stuff because I'd been taken to church and I knew it was wrong and I didn't do it. But, and I've said this to a few couples. Well, how come you stayed married so long and happy? I just tell them, hey, as far as stuff of the world, I have very little of that. I have a lot more than some people, but I have very little compared. It don't take that to make you happy. Right. You got to be, is my grandma, and not the grandma I remember, the one I remember a little bit, she used to say, well, learn to be content, baby. Learn to be content with what you have.
love each other, and when you get mad and you want to kill each other, just go off and don't do it.
32:7 says, "Remember the days of old. Consider the generations long past. Ask your father, and he will tell you, and your elders, and they will explain to you." All generations have been entrusted with different lessons based upon the time that they lived. There's much to be learned from those that have gone before us. God places people in our lives who can teach us these lessons. Parents, grandparents, church elders, they can all explain so much about God. We just have to take the time and the consideration to ask them for their help.
I would say get involved in church work and stay in it.
Well, just go to church and be honest and truthful. Study hard.
Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Definitely.
Because he can, eternal salvations come through him if we ask him.
Right.
He's there available. And he loves us even though we don't walk
With him all the time.
safely down that path. Because I don't know this, but I probably say my prayer and tell the Lord I love you. You got to love the Lord. And I thank him for loving me.
To put God first in everything. That's what I would tell them. When they get up in the morning, say, Lord, what would you have me do today?
I would tell the children, if the church has something for you, you come, you'll get something out of it. I don't care what it is. Even if it's a little bit. If you will come, get Mama to bring you. Let the children come. The Bible, or what does the Bible say? Let the children come unto me.
Go to church, follow the Lord, and accept him and live for him.
1 Timothy 5:17 says, "The elders who direct the affairs of the church well are worthy of double honor, especially those whose work is preaching and teaching." Those who have devoted many years to serving the church and proclaiming Christ's message are worthy of respect and honor. They have spent time pouring themselves out, preaching and teaching others that through time and experience have learned. We honor their commitment to their church community as well as their commitment to serving God.
Yeah, all those banners we made, and I tried one time to teach Sunday school class, but that just wasn't where God wanted me.
I moved here December the 7th of 1950, and we joined the church in 51. No, in December of 50. Yeah, it would have been sometime in 51. I lived in the old dormitories next to where there's having church up there. I was superintendent for a number of years. After we moved into the new church and built the auditorium, I was superintendent for several years. I never did teach a class, but that's the main thing. See, be in, and then I was in a class.
You know, I sang in a choir, and boy, and I love to sing, but I got to where I couldn't hear, and I didn't feel like I was jury-proof. I couldn't stay exactly where I want, and I don't read music, but I love to sing.
The mostest thing is WMU, and here 3-4 years ago, I got involved in Bible school, serving in the kitchen. Yes. And I thoroughly have enjoyed that, but I don't know now if I'm going to be able. I just didn't make it this year, and I don't know if I do, but I thoroughly did enjoy that.
Well, that baby I stayed in the nursery, which I liked. That's where I worked all the time. In New Jersey, I worked in the nursery. And every church I've gone to, I worked in the nursery.
Your mama would tell you Red Rover.
Yes.
But I always helped Cosette in children's church, you know, a lot.
Yes, you
whenever, at the later time. But I've always taken part in everything I could, Stacy. I don't know if anything I was ever asked to do that I didn't do.
Favorite job in the church was teaching the children. I always wanted to teach the children. I loved it. And you want me to tell you one of the things I loved best was taking them out to the cemetery and letting them measure the gravestones.
Really?
I did that in children's church. And, you know, I was a preacher in children's church. And so I went out there, and your mama, you know, she was the choir director.
Yeah.
And, 'cause I couldn't them kids died laughing when I tried to sing. And I laughed with them. And we went out there, and I had to give each one a length of a string. And I said, and I had already checked it out there, you know. And I wanted them to realize that God had a time for us to come. And He used all different things. He didn't cause them, but He used them a lot of times. That's the reason. And I made this for the point. I said, that's the reason little children get killed in a car wreck sometimes. They didn't do anything bad. They were not bad. Nobody might not have been bad in that car, but the wreck happened. And God used it, and there would be 3 or 4 different sizes of people, different ages.
Yes.
Kids don't relate to age much. They relate to size.
Right.
Or if you're in school, you know, they relate to who's in what class. But I took them out there, and I used to have the best of time out there measuring the graves out there. And we'd go back and we'd discuss it. Was yours a small child? And you know, I made sure there was some that had the little bitty headstones, you know, for a tiny baby. And I said, that baby didn't do anything wrong. So it was just that baby's time. God wanted that baby in His heaven. And that mom and dad's going to see that baby again one day if they Christians.
Psalm 71:18 says, even when I am old and gray, do not forsake me, my God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your mighty acts to all who are to come. I believe this may be the prayer of many, asking God to stay beside them, to remember them throughout their lives. We live long enough to see God's mightiness in many ways, and ache at the thought of someone not getting that chance. We hope that we can help others to know Him as we have known Him. Once you know love like that, you just want to spread it out.
That I know the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the most important thing.
I try to live as dear to the Master as I can. I really do.
Yes, you do. Good job.
Very good job.
I know I fail, but I still, that's my goal, is to be a follower.
Well, I try to be honest. If I tell you something, I want it to be straight. Love my people that are around me. Love my wife. Very important.
The biggest decision I made, the best decision I made, was when I accepted the Lord.
2 Timothy 4:7-8 says, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race, I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for His appearing. No one has ever said that following Jesus would be easy. Daily, believers lose, struggle with, and abandon their faith. The ones who thought they were signed up for a breezy sprint were shocked when they discovered that the race is a a long distance. Upon making this discovery, there are two options. Give up when you get past the easy part, or dig deep and continue on. The finish line may seem so very far away, but for those who have stayed in the race, they will be rewarded with a crown and allowed to rest forevermore. But oh, the memories we've made.
Just gone, and I guess to see Alan and Ann join the church would be possibly the most outstanding.
Bennett Murphy was, I think, the first pastor that they had there. That's Mary's brother.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was stationed at Whiting Field, we went to the East Brewton Baptist.
Let me show you a wall I painted, okay? Have you seen it?
And I'll tell you what I enjoyed a lot, those Christmas programs. When the children had their programs.
Yes.
You know. And the grown-ups too, but you know, the children, they're so cute when they're doing those little things, you know.
One of the things that I enjoyed was Lyman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's being with the elderly church family and things. I've been involved with that, the elderly. And just the church family itself, when they had a program going, I tried to make all of them in the golden.
Agers.
Yeah. I think that's a good part of the church code. I mean, I get a card from them every once in a while.
Yeah. And Miss Effie was always my model.
Yeah. Yes. I think
From the time that I came to Brewton until she died. She was my quilting buddy. You know, we used to meet here and quilt. I don't know how many quilts that we quilted for different ones.
those people don't know how privileged they are, do they?
But the one that had the quilt in always furnished the lunch. We'd stop for a break during the morning, one in the afternoon. Yes, we did. Miss Effie used to make that soup. She'd always fix a big old pot of soup.
I love homecoming. Yeah, I sure do. I love homecoming. Now, I enjoyed this, I think it was the last one we had Brent Chancellor preach. Now, I enjoyed it. I love to hear him preach.
Well, I don't. I want to say when we went to Texas, but you know, we went out there, you know, and went up to his bedroom and had our glass of wine, which wasn't wine, and I go in there, and I'll tell you a memory that I got of that has nothing to do with this, but I got a picture of Harrington, Buddy Harrington, and he's walking over to the barn, and he's got Bobby's purse, and it's that big. And he just swear, I love to look at that. That makes a good memory.
I say thank you for the 90s plus that have been interviewed during these past few weeks. I appreciate that very much, and thank you, Stacy and Jerry, for doing these interviews with them. As First Baptist Church East Brewton, we are blessed in many ways, but with our senior adults in these 90s plus, for the road that they have paved and all the lives that they have lived, that us younger people have role models to go by, and I thank you so much for that. I was telling Miss Doc Maddox this morning over there in the kitchen, I'm thankful that I've been a member of this church for 50-something years, and that I have watched these people get older in life. And they have watched me get older in life too. But on behalf of our church, we have a small token of love and appreciation for you. And at this time, Miss Edna Ashworth, Bill, if you'll come right here and see that Miss Edna gets this gift right there. Yes. Pat. If you'll come, Miss Aubrey Boyd, she's on the back here. Sarah, did you get this to your grandfather or great-grandfather? Bill, if you'll look at Mr. BURL DIXON. Pat, if you'll look at Miss JIMMIE Jackson. Okay. Sarah, if you'll come get Miss Van Hills. There was 3 of them here that are members of our church that were not able to be with us today. Mr. Kirby Evans, I understand that he is in Mobile in an assisted living place there. He is one of our members here also. Miss Laura Hofford, she's at the Century Care Center there in Century, Florida. And Miss Isla Weaver, she is homebound here in our own town here. But we have gifts for them, and we will get them to them. We sure will. Now let's give these 90s plus a round. And now it's lunchtime. And we got a meal over here in the fellowship hall. And before we have a blessing, and I want Dr. Couch, if he'd go to give the blessing and the benediction for us, but and right after he gets finished praying the blessing, if the 90s plus, if y'all will go to the foyer, and Sarah and Sydney Aaron are going to lead y'all on over to the fellowship hall. So after the blessing, if y'all will follow these young ladies at the front door, the 90s plus. And then as they're going out, we're going to sing this Audrey Boyd's favorite hymn. And it's one of mine too, Miss Audrey. On Jordan's stormy banks, I'm bound for the promised land, and all Christians will be all bound to that land. So, Dr. Couch, let us stand, and Dr. Couch, if you would bless this meeting, please. Amen. On Jordan's stormy banks.